Living the good fat life with your host Karen and Sherri. They'll help everything align for your body, soul, and mind. The good fat life, whether change comes slow or dramatically. The good fat life will help you sort things out organically.
Every time. We laugh every single time.
You just kind of puts you in this nice space, right?
Having a theme song is epic, you know?
Right.
It really is,
Right. So thank you, Wally Pleasant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy Thursday.
Yeah. So we so excited to have our guest today.
I know.
Right?
We're so lucky. Yeah.
Right. So Wendy Day is with us today, and I met Wendy, I don't know, 10 years ago. The time goes by so fast. It's been such... And I've always, one thing I just so admire about Wendy is she's got the energy that makes the Energizer Bunny look like he's lethargic.
Yeah, right? Good for her. Yeah.
It's called ADHD.
Yeah.
Technical term.
You want to ride bikes?
Well,
Squirrel.
I can say I have the ADD, but I don't have the H part that Wendy
Yeah, I have
has.
ADD for sure. Yeah.
And she's just been able to manifest things in ways like no other.
Oh, wow.
And anyways, and has always been committed to a life of service. And then being in the military, and as you can relate to, Karen, right? And so just so many things. So, Wendy, why don't let's
welcome.
Just
Thank you for being here,
and-
Wendy. Yeah, this is episode 52. So hey, it's like a special day, right?
Yeah.
50. Yeah,
That's
thank you for
exciting.
being here. Yeah. So tell us, Wendy, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I am currently a realtor, and I just published my first book.
Congratulations.
So thanks, mom of 4, wife of 1, and I'm here just to serve and kind of let my life unfold the way that hopefully that God would want it to. So I've done a great many things. That's my favorite line from Little Women. I could have done a great many things. So in my life, I'm trying to do all the things.
Tell us about your book. What's the title? And tell us about what it's about.
Yeah, so my book is actually fiction. I've been trying to write a book for 30 years, but I was always trying to write this nonfiction book because I thought I had to be very serious, right? I needed to write something that was, very serious and relatable, and it was so boring. So I wrote a fiction book called Killing Cupid, and it's got a little mythology mixed in. It's smart. It's a little romantic. It's fun. It's a little snarky and sassy, and I love it. And I have another one that I'm finishing that'll come out next month. So it's a great way for my brain to enter into new worlds without giving my husband a heart attack by dragging him into an actual new world, and be able to, fully deep dive in, hyper focus, explore. Because of course in February, we had a pretty tough fall. I had a tough fall in my family, and not fall, but like autumn. And then so in January, I spent all of January listening to books on Audible and learning how to oil paint, which I'm mediocre at. But I like it.
Yeah.
And then I decided I wanted to write a book. So I wrote 2 first drafts of books in February. At the same time, I was like listening to every podcast I could get my hands on, reading every book about how to write a book. I didn't know. And so that's just kind of what I do.
And then did it just flow to you naturally once you
It
started?
did. And one of the tricks about if you want to write a book is to use talk to text. Actually, I use Reedsy, REEDSY.com, free, to kind of break it down by each chapter. But I use talk to text a lot to write it because I would just act it out in my car, like what I thought the characters would say. And then go, fascinating process and super fun. And I've really, really enjoyed the process. So editing, I don't enjoy as much, but it's necessary. So
yeah. What did you learn about yourself in that process and others?
What did I learn about that process? I learned that I really like developing characters and telling the stories of people. Like I love, because I'm able to be empathetic with them and get in their head, and being able to do that allows me to kind of see their point of view easier and be able to just tell the story. I love good storytelling. I learned there's a lot that I don't know, so I've had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
does it help you be more intentional and aware? Because you have to think of like how would somebody with this backstory like hold their hand, or how would they see the world? Does
Yeah.
that get you into the details of the human being, of the human experience?
Yeah, because you can you could do a dialogue. Like I could write this as a story.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot more sense if all of a sudden it's like the bright light was reflecting off of her eyes, and she was getting sweaty under her earphones, which I'm not, but and
Right.
she,
I am a little, not gonna lie.
cracked open her cold water.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like you have to give it that. And it makes you pay attention to the details,
right? And
think about the details, and there's actually good guidebooks about how to think about whatever the person's backstory is or their experience, and how that can play out, whether that's a car accident or divorce or whatever it is, plays out going forward. It's just fascinating.
So now that you've had that guidebook, can you ascertain from people, you look at them and go, oh, they were in a car accident just from that guidebook? Or can you do have that? No, not yet.
Not yet. No, I haven't read it that much, no, but just kind of like making sure my characters are fully developed individuals that you could know in life. You know what I mean? That they're not just flat.
Did that help you become more fully developed as a human being?
I've always been kind of an all-in kind of girl.
Yeah.
I'm an open book, and I'm kind of an all-in kind of girl.
Right.
So
it enriched that, though, and expanded it for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's ever been a challenge. More of a challenge has been to settle down.
Right.
Not like get more. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
right.
That's
interesting.
So I was so excited to have to see Wendy, because we haven't seen each other for a while, that I forgot to mention we have Good Fat Life.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
The magazine,
Don't forget
this issue, and anyways, and part of our purpose for being, I guess, is that we are diving really deep into self-care this year, because it's not a nice thing to have. It's essential.
It's the most important thing for humanity at this point.
And so this, but what I love about what you just said, Wendy, is the one of our big things are coming up is play. Is how people play, and so you've been able to find. And I want to hear more about the book, but you've been able to find a way that you can play that is safe. And not safe, but that
is healthy.
It's healthy.
Good.
It's healthy.
Sorry, John.
It's healthy. What? Okay.
Okay.
It's so we're having a little technical thing here. Are we good?
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. But it's a healthy. It's a way that it just allows you to play in ways that gives you access to. I mean, I can't even imagine all the. I mean, I know from doing the magazine, it's like every day I meet a couple people or an idea or something happens that I never would have been in my world without the magazine.
Yeah.
Right? So when you take on something like that, it's like your world has to just explode.
Like your characters show you a different world too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get to, and so one of the things that's helped me this last year is, I took the Enneagram test. I don't know if you've ever taken the Enneagram.
What is it?
It's like a personality thing. So Myers-Briggs is more your temperament. The Enneagram is more how you respond to whatever's happened to you in your life so far, how you show up in the world. And
that's interesting.
I'm an Enneagram 7, and we like to have fun. We don't like sad things. We could put a spin on. I mean, there could literally be a poop shower going on, and I'd be like, well, look at that.
Yeah.
It's basically like I could make something up to make it spin it good.
Yeah.
Spin it, but
How do you spell the Enneagram? Is it
ENNERGRAM?
Okay.
Enneagram.
Enneagram?
And it's just a personality kind of, but it's so insightful. And I realized that it's helped me accept my family and myself for who we are. Like one thing about me that I've learned in this last year is that I am basically like looking for road trip buddies that want to go with me to do stuff I've already was going to do anyway.
Okay.
Like, and that's like a pretty big like understanding about yourself.
So tell me a little bit more. What does that mean to you?
So that means that like, cause I was, everybody thought I was an extrovert all the time. And trying to figure out how to be okay with who I am and like myself, who I am. And I like to organize things. I don't like to, I'm not drawn to go be on other boards of other organizations. I'm drawn to like,
Create my own,
create something myself. So I have always said, I'll pick up the flag and people can follow, let's go do something fun. I promise I'll take care of you.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing that like as a real thing and not just like something that's wrong with me.
Right.
Or something that's like, and use it for good. So I don't know, like just being able to understand that it's okay. I don't have to be serious. Like that's the biggest lesson from like, ever since I got out of politics. I don't have to be serious. I can be who I am.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow.
So,
Yeah.
so in, I mean, we've kind of said I study the Course in Miracles every day. Karen and I both do. And this morning it was just that we were created the way we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the gift.
That's the
That's
gift.
the
Exactly.
blessing.
Yeah, that's the gift.
And to embrace that. And
Right.
so I
Good
love
and bad. That's the gift.
But it's just so
Yeah.
interesting that then you're talking today about that. And then this
The
task,
Enneagram, yeah.
the Enneagram, that helps you increase your awareness to really understand
Yeah.
who you are in ways that maybe you hadn't before.
And it's not it's not prescriptive. It's not saying go out and fix yourself.
Right. It's like
saying
embrace.
Yeah.
embrace, and you can be healthy in the world and use your power for good.
Yeah. Don't
Right?
swim upstream, basically.
Yeah,
Float on your
unless
waters.
that's your personality.
Yeah,
Like, then
right.
you're gonna be off there, whacking salmon, trying to get them
Yeah.
out of the way, and that's just who you are.
Yeah.
But being able to find your way in a way that instead of trying to make the world work for you or I'll give you an analogy. There was a book I read that said that was called The House That Cleans Itself. And usually we go through life and we try to make these patterns. And we want to make things happen. And there's Atomic Habits, which is another book. They kind of mirror each other in a weird way. So the book about cleaning says, you can go through and try to get your people to change. Put your shoes here. Do this.
Yeah.
Or the better option that she suggested was don't do anything for 48 hours. Do nothing to your house. Let people live in it, right?
Yeah.
And then take a look around, and wherever they're naturally putting their shoes, create something there. Because that's what's happening. Instead of making
go with
them,
the flow. It's the flow of it.
Instead of making them trying to force people to course correct in something that doesn't matter.
Right.
Then you can figure out, okay, here are the problem areas. How can I address it where it's at?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
That
that's-
is,
Yeah, oh my
that
gosh,
is
you
cool.
could just live your life like that, right? Like, and
Yes.
stop trying to fit everyone into your system.
That's
Try to
right.
just be a system.
Or
Or
fit into
or
somebody
make a
else's
system.
system,
Yeah.
or define something that doesn't work. Instead, who are you truly, and how can you figure out how to show up in the world, be of service to others, which is our highest and best calling, in a way that makes sense to you and is
It lights you up,
good
too.
and lights
Yeah.
you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just so the world is draining, and people are draining. And
Yeah.
I think everybody's been, it's been really difficult to watch people struggle in the last couple of years. And I think the only reasons I haven't struggled too much is because, number one, I was an early adopter. So I'm a contrarian by nature. I have some contrarian in me, definitely. But because I started watching coronavirus early when everyone was rolling their eyes at me, and I was telling them, I was buying toilet paper back in, early,
Yeah.
February, and everyone's rolling their eyes at me. I'm like, okay, well, I see it coming.
Yeah.
And then I gave up control really early, and I'm like, all right, Lord, have your way with us.
Yeah.
We don't have control, and the people that struggled the most are the people that were trying to hang on to that control.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have it. It was all taken away. We were put in a timeout, like the whole world.
Yeah. Right.
Excuse me. So it's been good for me.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's what a lot of people who has sort of softened and realized those things during COVID, they're doing much better than the people who are still trying to control it and then trying to just jump right back into where they left off. It's like they missed that all of that, and it's just going to boomerang back around to them somehow.
But I love that when you were saying a little bit earlier about this is our opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's like, how do you want to live?
Get curious about it, right?
Get curious about how you want to live.
I mean, how many people in the world have ever had a chance where they got to stop everything
right.
and take a breath?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were headed off a cliff. We could not maintain the speed and the activity, and we were headed off a cliff as a society, right?
Yeah, we're almost at the ruin of society, basically.
Yeah. So we got to take a step backwards and say, okay, what do I want to add back into my life? How do I want to be? We're seeing that in real estate. People are moving. They're like, okay, I don't have to be near this. I want to go do this. This is what I've always, whatever it is. Like, you only get one life.
Yeah.
And but we needed that breath to sit back and take an opportunity just to kind of think about it for a second.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and now there's a lot of shifting and movement around that because we had to kind of sit in that peace and that resonate it, and now it's time for the movement.
right. And it's like a slow moving
Yeah.
earthquake.
Yeah, and you have to be aware in every moment because you can get sort of crazy in that movement, you got to maintain that breath and staying in that space. Otherwise, it's just going to get crazy and manic again.
Well, and most people I see, they just feel unsettled and they don't know. And it's being uncomfortable with the not knowing. It's being uncomfortable with uncomfortable.
Yes.
And being
we
uncomfortable.
talk about that a
Right.
lot.
Uncertain.
Right. And also, and finding that I hear from a lot of the world I'm connect with is there's a sense of hope and like this incredible expectation of of amazing things coming, and finding that ability to be okay that it's going to take its time to fold out or to let the process unfold and not try and force it, like,
And be in the process.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Well,
the process.
and to me, it's even
Understand the
deeper than
process.
that. It's like we don't really know what's coming, but can you learn to find joy, whatever it is? Because I think there's some struggles that are coming for us as a country and as a world, in terms of the economy, things like that. And I don't want to be like a doomsday person, but
Right.
I do. I think there's just still some unsustainable things. With that said, can you position yourself to be more self-sufficient? If you're freaking out because you have toilet paper, get yourself a little self-sufficiency, people. You know what I mean? Our country is like so weak.
Yeah.
I mean, really weak, you know?
Yeah.
And get yourself a little self-sufficiency and find something that you can have joy in that doesn't rely on all this external stuff. Like find joy inside of yourself and peace and be able to, and it takes you back to the basics of, can you care for your family? Can you care for your neighbors? Can you care for, because that's where the answers to all of this is.
Yeah.
Is in
Yeah.
us, our families, our neighbors, our communities, period.
Well, it's fascinating for me because my life changed drastically over the COVID, and I went from one certain kind of neighborhood to another. And it's just like, I just realized, so simple. You just like show up, you do your best, you love your neighbor, and you work hard. That's all. That's really it. Those three things.
And you
Yeah.
practice gratitude
Yeah.
at every moment.
Yeah.
And we're grateful. So the other thing, like I actually started writing a book, another nonfiction book.
Yeah.
3 years ago, but it was called, I literally made a TikTok about it called Longing for a Zombie Apocalypse. and it was an analogy for talking about how society, like, we have a need to struggle. There's a really good book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I've glanced through that. That is
So good. And it talks about the need to struggle, right? But we don't have any struggles. I mean, for the most, we have some,
Right.
but really, come on.
No dinosaurs are
We're not,
chasing us.
and we're not
Yeah.
walking 2 miles to get water.
Right.
Right.
And so we're creating struggle, existential struggle or otherwise, because we need to struggle. So we're out creating it through all these different things and different means. And I also think that if we're energy, and energy is meant, like in all throughout history, we've had to push and pull. Now we barely walk. We
Yeah.
don't do anything.
Right.
The energy is like spinning inside of us. And I think that's a lot of the anxiety, right? And we want purpose, and we've decided the return on investment for our families just isn't there. So we are willing to ditch our extended family. We're living apart from everybody, and we don't even know who our neighbors are because we don't have to get an egg from them. We'll just order it from shipped and have it delivered to us. So all the things that were going on, it was unsustainable, and I'm like, I don't see a way through this. But I see the people yearning for something deeper and more. And that's, again, the longing for a zombie apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to be connected. We're meant to be connected. We're meant to struggle, right? And have real struggles, like physical struggles.
Yeah.
And we don't have any of that.
So I read heard a book yesterday that was fascinating to me. And in fact, I ordered 6 copies. But it was talking about our brains. You know, we've heard that we only use 10% of our brain. Well, the truth is our brains are on overload. We're using we're so bombarded.
Yeah.
And we have been over the last century that our brains can't keep up. And so it's not age-related thing that keeps it, that shuts down or we lose focus and stuff. It's that our brains they're being used in ways they weren't designed to be used. Too much stimulation.
And there's no space. There's no space just to
Right,
be.
to be.
Yeah.
Well, but the part, and I thought that was fascinating, but the part that was even more, just had me like shaking, was then they were saying, and we were designed to move, right?
Yeah.
Our bodies were designed to move. So it's like, think a thought and move.
Yeah.
And think and move and interact with other
And it
people, have
pushes the energy.
conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's all of those things together that make us whole and make us function in a healthy,
Right.
balanced
Right.
way.
Right.
And so to your point, it's like we've gone tipped over this way.
Yeah.
And so all of this stuff, and that's why we have all those other issues,
That's
the
right.
anxiety and all that stuff. And, just even and I just thought it was fascinating because
Yeah.
now I'm even like, and I found myself like, oh, I got to move more,
Yeah.
just think a thought, have an idea, write a little, but go move
Yeah.
and let it do its deal.
You know what I found fascinating? It was that it's so important to have your mind cleared, because if you're having thoughts that aren't cleared or negative, even if you're not moving around, those are being sent out somewhere to someone.
Yeah.
And they're resonating somewhere and they're coming back to you somehow. So it's so important in every moment to just have that clarity as much as you can, because you think, oh, I'm not bothering anybody, I'm having this terrible thought or whatever, but it's really, it's what do you call it?
We're supposed
broadcasting.
to take every thought captive. There's a reason the Bible says take every thought captive. And and we're responsible for that. There's there's this whole movement that's been happening that says my truth. I need to believe my truth. And I thought, I even made talk about this too. And I said, you know what? That's so stupid, because my truth is so wrong most of the time. Whether
how about our truth?
Right. Whether it overinflates or the truth.
Yeah.
And I can have a perception about the truth.
Right.
But if it's my truth, the things I tell myself or I believe sometimes, whether it's good or bad, whether it's I'm not worthy or I am way awesome, that's a lie. Like, they could be wrong. So why do you trust you know what I mean? Like, I want the truth and I can have a perception about it, but I don't want to pretend like I own a corner on the market on that.
Right.
But at the same time, like, so that's kind of like like knocking down one of these like ethereal weird things.
Yeah.
But I'll give you something that's to chew on that is a weird ethereal thing. So another thought I had in the last year was, we all have to kind of collectively agree on some level to what is. Mm-hmm. And we all collectively agreed, because we can say whatever we want, blame whoever we want to, but at some level, we collectively agreed to all the stuff that happened in the last year.
Absolutely.
If we're all energy.
Since the beginning of time, we all collectively agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're collectively agreeing to that. And the other reason I think we have so much anxiety is because we are being asked to care about things. I don't watch the news anymore. I don't want to hear about things that happen in other countries. I used to think it was making me well-informed. But the reality is I'm being asked to care about and have opinions about things that I can't do anything about, and I don't have the ability to have all the information to even make a real opinion, right? So that's why we feel anxiety, because there's no efficacy. We are asked to be constantly to care about things we can't do anything about, whether it's the rainforest, whether it's the, and there are little things, but really, truly, like shootings in other areas, all that stuff, I can't do anything about that. So why are you asking me to care about that and have an opinion about it when I can't fix it? All that does is leave me frustrated, overwhelmed, with no efficacy. Now, go ahead.
And sad.
Yeah.
And sad.
Because there's so many plights of the people. I mean, you said get water, right? We're not walking 2 miles for water, and we're not. It's, every time it's like, yay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you hear those stories, it's heartbreaking.
It is. But I can't do anything about it if they have a corrupt government over there.
Right.
And then I don't want to think about that. So whether I'm a conservative or a liberal, I have different ways of looking at it. But the reality is there's a corrupt government over there that we can't fix.
Yeah.
And no one's going to fix it.
And
so
it's passing judgment on the person that's trying to get water in some way, right?
Yeah.
It's like throwing some sort of something to them that's not helping them at all either. That energy is going to them when you're making an opinion about a situation.
And so why do I even need to know about it? And I know that sounds weird to like be sheltered, but it's like there are things I need to know about. There are things that are close by. There are people that are hurting, and maybe they're not hurting on the way where they don't have water. But think about we don't have a world right now where, let me backpedal. Women are expected and families are expected to do all the things in their family for their children and everything that used to be done by a whole extended family included. Multiple grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins. Nobody sees their cousins anymore. I grew up with all those people around and think, you know what I mean? There was like this whole big village, right, with my family.
Yeah.
Nobody has that anymore.
Right.
And so they're struggling, and we're struggling, but it's just more subtle. All the hurt and the pain and the marriages that are struggling for so many reasons. You know, people are lonely, desperately lonely. Old people are lonely because their kids don't want them living with them because that's not what we do.
Right.
I mean, lonely.
Yeah.
So
and then coronavirus shut it down. You couldn't see your family.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
that
right.
you're right.
Yeah. So, so we have things to care about that we actually can fix here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But instead, we're being asked to care about things that we can't do anything about that are far away.
Mm-hmm.
And we're ignoring the stuff that's here. Where if everybody just started with myself, my family, my community,
Yeah.
if everybody did that, all of our problems would be solved.
Well, I love that you said that because I heard this term this week. Somebody said that this is my personal assignment. They're like, this is my assignment. And the people that come into my life are my assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. No,
Yeah.
that's
And I was like,
interesting.
that's a beautiful way to look at it.
it is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is. So talk about, I mean, you've had some really quite experiences being a military wife and with your campaigning
Yep.
and those things. And how has that influenced who you are today?
So I think that my job as a Christian is to be obedient in the moment, even if I can't see what's going to happen, even if I don't know. And so I think that there's been things that have happened along the way where every step has led to the next step. I served families of the fallen for 5 years, and I worked with families who had soldiers who had died in war or suicide, whatever, and that really was gut wrenching for me. That helped me walk through the valley of the shadow of death with people, and I learned compassion and empathy, and that I couldn't fix everything for them because I couldn't bring their person back. So. In politics, it was more service. I ran a Red Cross chapter. Everything I've done, because, you could do a variety of things, but there's this theme that runs through everything you do.
Right.
For sure.
And that's what, and it was service.
Right.
Everything I've done has been, I like to serve people. I like to organize things. So everything I've done, whether it's been in teaching, I taught college for 15 years, training, working for the Red Cross, working with families of the soldiers who died, working with, in politics, organizing volunteers, things like that. It's all been, even real estate is all service related. So, and it's every step of the way has been interesting, and it's been a promotion. And there's been times when I've had to be obedient when it's been really, really hard. I met Sherri because I hired her to help me with money stuff because I have ADD. Who puts a girl with ADHD in charge of money?
Right.
I don't do
Yeah.
that.
No,
I
don't do that.
I know.
Don't
Well,
do that. Yeah.
Well, here I am.
Yeah.
And but she helped me learn about how I thought about money and what to do about money. And at the time, I had it was me. I had gotten us into $45,000 of credit card debt, and it was in 2009, right when the crash was happening. And literally, I had to give plasma to get gas money to go find a job in Lansing because I wanted to work in Lansing because I had no money. And I was praying about what to do about it. And I'm like, all right, well, this economy isn't God's economy. So we dug our way out of it. We did not file bankruptcy. We did not foreclose on it. And everybody's circumstances are different, but it's we dug our way out of it.
Good for you.
And because we were obedient, I think that's why God's blessed us, right? There's been times in politics where my back's been against a wall. And I'm so grateful because I don't know if I would have been able to be so strong. But every time an issue came up that I had to make it was a very clear decision. Are you going to stand here or here?
Yeah.
There was no wiggle room.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that too because it helped me be strong.
Well, I like that too because when you're talking about how we can't judge people and we have to be obedient, we don't know why anything, and when it comes to us negative or positive, we have to be obedient in every moment because we don't know if it's a good horse or a bad horse, right? We never know.
We don't even know if something happens if it's a good thing or bad thing.
Right.
I read or listened to somebody that said, "Why are you saying that that's a good thing? You don't know. Maybe it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Only time will tell." And
it's your ego thinking you can.
Yeah.
Well, and also whether it's good or bad can change.
Right.
That's right.
And so, I mean,
And many,
and we talk about that
Yeah.
with health a lot. I had a fascinating conversation with my dad the other day, and he was saying that a drug that he had prescribed for 40 years daily, probably to his patients, now they've just come out that there's 35 contraindications on it. And so he's like, who knew? He's just I'm just in total shock that all of this was one way and now it's another way. And, we can find examples of that all over the place.
And we do the best we can with what we have. To me, the idea of judging, we make judgments every day with using the prism of our brain and our experiences. I think that where judging gets bad is when you think that you're better than someone, right? That's to me, it's I can judge a situation based on my knowledge and experience. I have to, is this moldy pizza good to eat? Probably not, based on my experience.
Am I willing to eat it? Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I think
If
that
I'm hungry?
Yeah.
Right. Depends.
Right.
If I see a person and they look kind of dangerous and shady, I have to make a judgment about that. However, it doesn't mean I think I'm better than them.
It's just go with your gut in the moment.
You have to go with your gut and make a moment decision. So I think, and in the world right now, it's really tough because there's the social media has just, I don't know if you saw The Social Dilemma on Netflix and how manipulative social media is.
That's really scary.
It is terrifying. And it's like, and yet, what do you do? Like, and it's like, I used to pray that God would like restore our country or whatever. And now I'm like, you just have a way with us because we're a hot mess and I don't know how to fix it. People are interested in fixing it, and have your way with us, because if we're supposed, there are instructions in the Bible is if you are in exile, which a lot of Christians feel like they are right now, there are instructions in the Bible for how to live. And you have a business and you have joy and you take care of your family and you just live. It's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay. It is what it is.
It all begins with you, really.
Right. And if you're a Christian, either God's sovereign or he's not. So if he's allowing something to happen for the good of those who love him, then chill out. Yeah. Hush up and just go with it. Yeah. It's fine.
Well, the Course in Miracles, they say everything's two ways. It's either love or called to love. And that there's nothing else but love. So it's love or called to love. So anything else is just really nonsense. It doesn't even, it's not even real.
Right.
Yeah. So if you can get into the flow of that, even if it seems like hate at the time, that's actually still love.
Yeah. Or still a call to love.
Yeah, still a call to love. Yeah.
And it is tough. It's tough because we live in such a world. It's so funny. I used to be on the school board in Howell, and I was like hated on the school board. I was a homeschool mom, a conservative Christian. They hated me. But one of the biggest controversies was they had the Bluest Eyes by Toni Morrison that they wanted to. They were giving parents a list of like 30 books in like juniors honor English that they might read, and parents were supposed to somehow understand what was in these books or whatever. And one of them was The Bluest Eyes by Toni Morrison. I don't know if you read that book? Yeah, there's the scene with the 11-year-old daughter and her dad. Yeah, I don't necessarily want my kid reading that in 11th grade. It's pretty graphic. Yeah. And, or at least want to know about it. Like, and so what we were asking them to do was put some kind of like, little tags next to it to say what's in it, right? Like just a little... Today we'd call it a trigger warning. Yeah. But back then, I was a censor and I was burning books. So it's just so hard to navigate this world now because now we've gone the other direction of, even
everything's
being an
back
author,
into darkness again.
You have to put like trigger warnings on everything because everybody is choosing to be offended over everything. And all of a sudden, like the responsibility of me, I'm supposed to know what might offend you and not say it. It's like anything could offend you. You know, if you tell me you like green olives, I'm kind of offended because they're gross. You know what I mean?
But that's so interesting that you say that because, yes, I've had a number of conversations with people lately and they're like, yes, this is offensive or this is I hadn't heard that term, trigger. Yeah. And oh my gosh, and that's the farthest thing from my mind. Yeah. And it's not my experience. Right. But it's true for them. Yeah.
And it is, but you know what? That's so selfish. Like, I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of selfish. It's like, you know what? You're going to be offended. There's nothing in the whole world that guarantees you're not going to be offended. In fact, you are.
Yeah. It's okay to be offended and it's okay for things to be hard. It just is.
It is.
But it's
that's
still,
when you know where you're supposed to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's still that thing around judgment too, right? So there's a balance there.
Well, and judging.
You don't go around trying to offend people.
But judging doesn't mean that I think I'm better than you. See, having an opinion about something is not judgment. Not from biblical judgment. Right. Okay. Judgment means I think I'm better than you. I'm judging and I'm better than you. That's judgment. That's wrong, right? Because we're not. We all kind of suck. Yeah. Having an opinion.
Or we're all magnificent in our imperfections. Yes.
But the idea that you can go around and demand that other people trigger you, I don't know. It's just so dumb and weak. Like you're never gonna be not offended at some point in your life, and you're gonna have to learn how to deal with it. That's a chance for you to forgive. Yeah. That's a call to love for you. If you're triggered by something someone says, if you're offended by someone says, you can choose to not be offended, and it's a call to love and forgive for you. And then so take responsibility for that. Right. You know what I mean? I'm sorry I offended you. You know, I can apologize, but like you got to suck it up too.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't sound
No,
very kind.
And
but you
also,
know what I mean?
too,
Like,
if we all take responsibility and go, I'm actually fine with who I am and the decisions I'm making,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with it, and I'm okay that you're not okay with it.
right.
I
that's
think
okay.
that's freeing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we
That's
have
good.
a hard time. We have also started to define people by their behavior as
Good or bad.
well as being all who they are, right?
Right.
Like, and I think you want to have compassion and you want to have love. Like I love what you said. Like it's a call to love, right? So if I accidentally offend somebody, it's a call to love on their behalf. You know, and I do. You know, I can own that and I can forgive because you don't want to hurt somebody, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like if you're going to be offended about everything, then how is anybody supposed to hang out with you and relate to you?
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Well, this is such an interesting topic in the sense because it's also how do we grow as human beings
If we're never challenged.
if we're never challenged and never in a space. It's just interesting. Never in the space where you can offend people or whatever, not intentionally, right? Have a discussion. In creating, there's always going to be stuff that it raises people's buttons.
Yeah, creating
Always.
Creating is a little violent.
Right.
Yeah.
Creating is a little rough.
Of course.
There's bumping.
Yeah.
And living is a little violent.
And that's just, I loved it. Like Plato said, the minute you have more than one person in a room, you have the potential for conflict.
Right.
Right? You do. And you're right. We have to learn how to respect each other enough to allow us to all have our differences and still be able to say, and I love you, and let's move forward.
Well, and
Right?
you know, one of the things I think is a big mistake that we've made is that we have started to. They used to say don't talk about politics and religion, and we thought, well, that's weird. I used to think that was weird because I love talking about politics and religion. But I think it's not don't talk about politics and religion. It's don't let that be the first and only thing you talk about. Like go get to know somebody.
Don't focus on your differences.
Right. Go get to know somebody and don't even talk about that, right? Like doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Right. But instead we've developed these litmus tests for people so that we can immediately categorize them, box them in, decide something about them, and not ever get to know. Like when I stopped watching the news and got out of politics, the world was much lovelier. It was much more lovely.
Oh, I'm
People
sure.
were lovely.
Yeah. You know, they say we're just like pieces of coal sort of bumping up against each other, like getting rid of our jagged edges
Yeah.
until we turn
Iron
into gems.
sharpens iron.
Yeah, you just keep bumping, and that's where the beauty comes from. You keep bumping into each other to get all smoothed out.
And if you're only bumping into people that are just like you, you're not really bumping, you're just sitting there.
yeah.
Well, and how boring is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. And you don't grow.
Right.
And it's like, and unfortunately what's happened is that social media has, you know, created these echo chambers where everything reinforces what you believe. And people don't realize, and the other thing I heard was the lens through which we look through the world. Let's give coronavirus because it was such a good dramatic example. People who valued personal freedom and business and livelihoods and things like that over the common health. You know what I mean? Like, so my mom and I were talking. I have two groups of people. My mom was terrified that children were going to die. My friends were businesses are going to shut down. And I told both of them, I said, listen, businesses are going to shut down and children are going to die. This was always going to kind of suck.
Yeah.
Right. And you can go to that extreme and that's your worldview and you want to keep everybody safe. It's not a zero sum game. You can't. It's life.
Yeah.
Living's dangerous.
Right. It's
You're
going to
not
happen anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to keep all the businesses awake. But yes, we should try to figure out a way to try to help them so that they don't all crash and burn except for the big boxes.
Right.
There's got to be some middle ground. And really, we were in the middle. It's like being in the middle of a hurricane and trying to decide if you're like, if you were out, if you were in the middle of a hurricane and you're like an insurance adjuster and you're trying to report back in if they're going to need new siding or not, and you're in the middle of the hurricane, that's pretty much what it was like, the reporting during COVID.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're like, well, we think this. I'm like, you don't even know.
Right.
Like you know of it. You don't know about it. Or
Yeah.
you know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know. And we won't know until like 5 years from now. We'll be able to look back and pull out and see and
it could
unpack.
take us 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, and I told people, I'm like, it took us like 100 years to figure out that shingles and chickenpox were connected. You know, right now there's just a vacuum where we're so spoiled. We're used to instant gratification, instant knowledge because of the internet. This is the first first time we've lived through something where we don't get to know what we want right when we want to know it.
Right.
Because it doesn't exist, the knowledge doesn't exist yet.
And then also, I think with time and space, people don't realize that what does 300 years have to do in the expansion of forever, right? Like, it's coming a lot faster than we think. This is all just blips to the expansion of forever. And people don't realize that.
No, they don't, because we're so, like, you know, and that makes sense because we're so stuck in the here now because this is our time. Yeah. And I think the internet has really changed that, like I said, because you can go out and research anything. And then there was a vacuum, so people started filling it with, like, and they're like, you see, they flip-flopped. I'm like, of course they flip-flopped. Everybody did, because we didn't know what the heck we were talking about.
Every other day, everyone flip-flops.
Because we don't know.
Yeah,
and we're trying to like categorize and grasp this brand new thing. Because even when 9/11 happened, which was super dramatic, we still knew. We identified an enemy. We went after them. We could categorize all of that. This, we didn't know. So people had to try to categorize it, and they're still doing it. And, you know, and once they categorized it, it was like, they just stayed there.
But then it just comes back to, we have to be in the moment, like, right? Like, if you always just stay in the moment and aware of the moment, then there's really no need for all of that. Like, to be aware of, like, who's hurting, who needs something, all those things, and be aware of that and meet those needs.
That's right.
Then this all goes away.
That's what I told my friends. I'm like, your only job right now is to figure out how God wants you to serve others and go do it. And if it's marching in Lansing with a business owner who's terrified of losing the business they built for 50 years, go do it. Yeah. Don't be a jerk about it, but go do it. Yeah. If you're supposed to be giving masks to people, if you're, you know, whatever it is, go do it. That's what God's calling you to do. But it should involve some kind of kindness and love, and, you know.
Right. And it should always involve, at the heart of it, should be kindness 100%. And love, right?
And God will keep calling you to do it over and over again until you get it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you say? I mean, one of the things, Wendy, we always like to kind of wrap up with, what can people do right now, to make their day, live their good fat life, right?
And be of service.
And we say, living a good fat life, go live your good fat life. And it's really about living an intentional life that allows you to be your best self. Yeah. So what would you say, I think it's one thing in, in the world that you've lived in and your experience, what would you say would be one thing
to do to live your best life? I think it's be honest, unapologetically honest with yourself about who you are, because it's okay. Mm-hmm. And then no matter who figure out how to work in the world as who you are, instead of trying to change yourself to fit in a world that doesn't care anyway about you. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a space for you in this world, just like you are. You're fine, just the way you are.
Just as you are. And really, that's going to be but what's beautiful about that is we all have that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we were all given these things to be just who we are. Right. And when we try and change to be different, it's all mercurial.
Yeah. You got to give yourself that permission.
It doesn't work.
Right. It doesn't work.
And you're not happy. Like, you're not. I tried to be serious for so many years because people are like, you're leading with fun. You're too, and these messages we get from childhood, you're too much, you're too this. Yeah. Well, all right. So I have to figure out a way to live in the world.
And be less.
But no, right? Like, figure out a way to live in the world and not be less.
Right. But that's what we're told sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. But be who I am in a way that's healthy, productive, and good for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And then just turn off the news. Like, just please, for the love of God, turn off the news. Don't watch it. You're not missing anything.
Turn on a podcast.
Yeah, turn on a podcast.
Turn on an empowering podcast like this one.
Yeah.
And feed your mind and brain and heart with good stuff.
With good
soul.
Stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We like to say that, be intentional around what you think and who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. And what you allow inside.
Yeah. Yeah. It all makes a difference. Well, great. Well, it's just been so much fun to have you. I know we could talk for hours.
Thank you.
And it's just refreshing to hear you say the things that you do with all of your energy. And and I love that. And I love that you found the books. The way to write to channel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how your face lights up when you talk about them.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Fun.
Yeah. To change. So where do we find your books? So if somebody wants to read your books, tell us about
Killing Cupid is out now. Okay. And it's on Amazon, Audible, Barnes & Noble, and you can, and on Kindle Unlimited. It's a great, fun read. Like I said, it's smart. It's got some mythology in it. Set in Chicago. Actually, my next book that's coming out next month is set in Brighton. Right here in Brighton.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's another. It's about Hera. It's called Hera's Revenge, another mythology. But it's, again, a little fun.
Is it in modern day time?
It is. It's in modern
cool.
day time. So, like the first book, Cupid has to come back to Earth because Persephone or whatever her name is, his wife left him because we've messed up love so bad. So he has to come back down and try to fix it because she's like, you're a loser now.
Oh.
And so he comes down and he creates a website with $1 million guarantee, uses like science I actually researched to try to reprogram our neurons to match us up. But then he's irritated about the whole thing. So he starts matching up people who don't belong together.
Oh, wow.
Because he's like kind of mad about it. And so it's just kind of funny. And there's a couple and then they go to battle and,
Wow.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Check it
So
out.
Yeah, it's
so so I'll go get that one today.
Yeah, I'm going to go get that and read into My Good Fat Life for
Yes,
sure. Yeah,
exactly.
So I think
And
it's
then-
time for us to.
Yeah, and also I think that maybe we should have, when your next one comes out, we should have
Featuring the book.
a book party.
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah.
A good fat life,
Feature it in
good
the
party.
magazine.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Exactly.
It'd be super fun.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Until
thank you.
then, let's
Thank-
just go out and
Live a good fat life.
live our good fat life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Amen.
Wendy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amen. Yeah.
Right.